Great. Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Tuesday, September 2nd, year of our Lord 2025. And my Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me it is 9:09 on the dot. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, broadcasting today from the United States of America. We can prove it. We have actual leaders who care about Americans. It's also the place for the brave, like the veterans we salute today, thanks to our man John Basiliga and his great family of companies, like Harold Witoshinsky, formerly of Scranton, Gary Myers, Kingston, Harry Swithers, late of Arizona, but he was from Alden, Alfred Mihalchik, Hazel Township, and Michael Smith, New London, North Carolina, formerly of Clifton Heights, New Jersey. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible founding fathers that the government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our salvation, our direction, not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to protect society and to organize it. That's it. The United States, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. Freedom was not something that could be parceled out to groups. It was not something that could be controlled by government or government officials, because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press, whether they use it to make things up, to drive a left-wing agenda or not. They knew we'd be smart enough to figure it out. Now, armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny came out of nowhere to create the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so, we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. And because we are committed to common sense, that which makes sense, we will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you for the balance of this morning. Well, great to be back. It was, it was a heck of a weekend. Holy cow. The best weather that I can recall for Festa Italiana. It wasn't too hot. They didn't have any deluge. There's normally at least one deluge, sometimes two, during the course of the Festa. And so Friday night, I stayed home. I just stayed home. That's it. Good. I'm going to rest up, because Saturday, my man Johnny Anelli had his annual polenta party. Oh, the food was off the charts. And my buddy Richie Parami, his wine was, it was just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. We had chicken, we had ribs, we had the polenta, and the sauce was unreal. And then and my man Billy Genovese took me home. So we were good. Mr. Paul and I went up together and went home together with Billy at the wheel. And Sunday then, well, my dog Chauncey's been sick. We don't quite know what's wrong, but I mean like deathly sick. So we're dealing with, our vet and the Naples Gentile. And she's given us sort of, well, here, we could do this, we could do that. But we end up having to go to on Sunday morning, because it was that bad, to a place in Allentown for Chauncey, to bring Chauncey down and say, what is going on? I mean, he could barely walk. You couldn't touch his mouth, his anywhere near his neck. And it was really bad. And so we took him down there. And we're waiting about an hour and a half. And I'm figuring, well, whatever. And so finally, my son Peter, on behalf of the Wilkes-Barre Police, was throwing out the first pitch at the Rail Riders game. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm going, man, we're at least an hour away. And I said, can you tell us how much longer? Now, she was in the middle of typing something, and I'm like, okay, she's clearly not trying. And it's a veterinary nurse. She says to us, oh, I was going to tell you, and my first thought is when? It's going to be 4 to 6 hours before we can see the dog. Cutie and I look at each other. What are they out of their mind? And so we just said, all right, we're gone. We're gone. And Ann nicely gave us some medicine, some pills for Chauncey to take, which have helped revive him. He's not normal yet, but I'm taking him to the vet today. I'm taking him up there today. What is it called? Countryside vet, whatever. But great veterinarians. Anyway, we're going there today. I am, me and Chauncey, I mean. Cutie's working. But, and we'll hopefully see what's going on. So then we get back, and I'll tell you what, not great crowds. And maybe because there was so much more to do on the weekend, but what fun the Rail Riders game was. It was really neat. Really neat. And Peter threw out the first ball. He got it over the plate. And, the game was great. It really was. So then Sunday night is the traditional. We go to Catch 21 outside, and we watch Daddy-O, and we watch Chris DiMatteo, and he's got this Dean Martin guy comes in. And our man John Basiliga and his wife came over and sat with us. We had a good gang, the Palucci's. We had gone to Terra. I told you it was sort of my headquarters. We had gone to Terra before that. And it was just fun. Now, they didn't do the fireworks this year. I didn't get to ask why. It just slipped my mind. They normally have fireworks on Sunday night. But we didn't do any touring. We didn't do the Italian 500 around the courthouse square. So then the next day, yesterday, Labor Day, again, perfect weather. And I did my usual stops. We had run into Pat Ravello and his wife, and we're, on Sunday at Terra. And so we were talking about it, and I said, I didn't know they had a stand. So that was the first stop. And they had this white double crust pizza with porchetta in it. It was it was so good, it was ridiculous. I mean, Ravello's pizza is fantastic to start with, but this was at another level even. And then as I keep going around the square, well, you got to stop at Unico. What a great group of people. And I'm a Unican, but these people do all the work. It's unbelievable, and they have a huge crew. And their porchetta, it's to die for. It is. So we were doing mostly takeout because we were tired from the weekend, Cutie and I. And so I got my Unico porchetta. And then we stopped by Sabatel's, which it's the great store in Pittston, the Italian store. It's it's really a great store. And our own Sue Henry was there. Not only were the Sabatels there, but Sue was there. And I got a fully loaded porchetta sandwich. It was fabulous. It was, that store is off the charts in Pittston and in beautiful downtown Pittston. And it's funny, many years ago, you might have said that sarcastically. No, it's beautiful. It is really great, and Sabatel's a big part of that. So then the next stop is Carmela's for the pastry. And one of the Padula guys, and he's the guy, if you see him on Instagram, he's got this sauce, Carmela's sauce, which is awesome. And he does these videos. And so we were talking about that. I go, you're like a star. I said, I know you since you're born almost. But I said, I love watching your videos with this sauce. But I had cannoli there. I got a couple of chocolate cannoli. And then the final stop was Villa Maria. And all my buddies were there, and Frankie Morell, and of course, it was really Joey Machak. And the thing about these guys is the work they did and the work they do for that weekend. I mean, I'm exhausted looking at them. And they've never had this kind of weather. So I'm guessing it was their biggest crowds ever. I mean, and deservedly so. But I'm thinking, like, when last night came, 8 o'clock, they must have been like, okay, thank God it's over. Oh, do they work hard. Unbelievable. And then, somebody texted in, were you there when Preoccupied Page announced for Congress while running for mayor? I mean, it's the height of arrogance. It's off the charts. I was going to meet Cutie and our friend Marky McAndrew to go home with our loot from the Festa, and they said if you had come up the alley, you would have seen Mayor Page walking down, and I did she make an announcement? Really? That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, I'm running for mayor. Well, you're proving you don't want to be the mayor. It's what I've been saying all along. It's a stepping stone, and we're discovering how awful a mayor you are. I had taken a newspaper. It was Scranton newspaper, the Rag, from last Thursday. Okay? And on the front page, they're trying to kill Bresnahan over a helicopter that a company he owns has. What? Are you out of your mind? He can't have something for business? So they're killing him. And then in the same paper, Paige Cognetti is doing, that's why I say this paper is so awful, you can't even make up how bad it is and how biased it is. They've then got, as I'm flipping through it, they've got on page 3 a Good Neighbor program. Now, it has nothing to do with the city of Scranton. Nothing. Period. It's Scranton Tomorrow put it together. And Paige Cognetti's campaigning. Using someone else's work, by the way. Scranton Tomorrow actually accomplishes things. And they've got 3 different pictures of her as though she was doing something. I'm thinking to myself, This is insane. Oh, and by the way, more to come. She's got to be defeated for mayor. She has to be. And if the people of Scranton, again, they can't be that foolhardy. You could drive around the streets and lose your hubcaps, if you have hubcaps, and watch all the money that was wasted and unaccounted for, I might add, as well. The $69 million her pal Biden gave you. And the only thing we have is Joe Biden signs for 5 years in the mayor's office. And well-paid consultants, too. So, but it would have been funny if I had run into her in the alley because I get the cold shoulder from her. I'm not. She has to know who I am. So that would have been funny, but I was going up North Washington Avenue. But it's coming, guys. They're going to they're trying to do this for her mayor's race, but to be talking about the next thing you're going to do when you haven't accomplished anything as the mayor. It's insane. Oh, Lord. I'm beside myself that this is where we've gotten to. And now this newspaper, they think they're acting press secretary for her. What did that have to do? Again, something that she had nothing to do with. She gets 3 pictures in the paper. As though she was running the show. Unreal. Anyway, Ginny C checking in. She's saying prayers for Chauncey. Yeah, we're going to get x-rays today and see what the deal is. I don't know. And I got to tell you, it's a dog, okay? But I prayed that he gets better. I did it myself. So thank you, Ginny C. All right, we've got to take this break. We're over, but that was the weekend. Great weekend. Hope all of you enjoyed the weather and did a little something. I did more than I should. Oh, yeah, because I went to my friend's house last night. He was making meatballs and sauce. And, a half-hour stop-by turned into a 5-hour deal. Fun was had by all, though. But yeah, I'm happy the weekend is over. Let's take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. And for the vast majority of soldiers who didn't fight in the trenches in World War I, who didn't storm the beaches of Normandy, but served us nevertheless, the Bloomsburg Legion has a stone that captures it all. What is a veteran? It says, a veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America and its people for an amount of up to and including his or her life. So by special request from a family member, we pay tribute this hour to Michael Smith. He was 66, a resident of New London, North Carolina, formerly of Clifton Heights, New Jersey, where he was buried. He served in the Navy and the Army. More than 25 years of dedicated service to the military. Michael embodied honor, discipline, and deep commitment to his country. He loved animals. Was a dedicated volunteer for Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, a disease that affected his daughter, Ashley. He was devoted to his family, source of strength, warmth, and unwavering support. He's survived by his daughter, Ashley, grandchildren, his mother, brothers, sisters, and many other family members. Michael Smott Smith. And we talked about this, and I tell you, we love doing tributes to people who have family and friends that want to talk about them. We've got a couple of them this week. This is one of them. And we're honored to do it, so you know that. Michael Smith. Thank you to Dana McDonald, who brought him to our attention. Brought to you by our friend John Basiliga, Basiliga Hospitality, J. Bass Realty, Serenity Care, and Eastern Roofing Systems. Amazing companies, all. And we pay tribute to them as they let us pay tribute to our soldiers. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, sunny with the chance of an isolated shower, 78 degrees. Tonight, clear skies, 56. Wednesday, mix of sun and clouds with a chance of a stray shower, 78. Thursday, morning sun, then cloudy with showers and thunderstorms late in the day. By then, we will need the rain. It'll be 78 on Thursday. Elvis. Murph tells us this date, 1957. He had the number one R&B with his hit, What is this? Let me be your teddy bear. There's a couple extra words in there. Teddy bear. We'll all remember that song. Somebody texted and they said, I went and watched the Hanover area Mini-Hawks play their game on the practice field and not on the home field. Remember how somebody brought up that the school district was going to try to charge them $1,400 a game? Now, I'm not sure what the sentiment, the exact sentiment is, but maybe they say, I feel the same about your talk show. Maybe the same as I feel about Paige Cognetti's mayoralty. They continue, I've heard a half an hour of what you did over the weekend, but nothing else. Well, I mean, the Festa, this is the local stuff. And by the way, you can call in and tell me what you did. I'm just as interested in what you did this weekend. You could have texted it in. Somebody said there's got to be something else going on in the world besides yours. Well, I can't talk about your weekend. You can, though, and you're more than welcome. Somebody else texting, Bob, Paige Cognetti will win either race by a landslide. I don't think so. We will see. I think Gene Barrett could beat her for mayor, and I know Rob Bresnahan can beat her for Congress. Better congressman. Actual accomplishments in his life. Actual jobs created. Actual developments that were brought through to fruition. You got to remember, Paige Cognetti can't even get anything done with somebody else's money. Rob did this stuff with his own. Somebody asked, do you think Scranton voting system is legit and non-corrupt? We'll see, right? And that's why you got to watch it. Somebody tell me to have Chauncey tested for Lyme disease, which is one of the things we're thinking about. Yeah, particularly because of the recurrence. Anyway, coming up soon, and it's become an amazing annual event. Our friend Joe Morelli, he's a Temple guy. He was the guy that launched Lackawanna College onto its current trajectory and started the football program, all of that stuff. He's got a Dunmore High School reunion that he puts together every year, and it's about that time again, isn't it, Joe Morelli?
It sure is, Bobby.
Tell us about it. Give us the details.
Okay, we have we call it the Golden Bucks Reunion. It's the 4th annual reunion. That will be held on September the 26th at La Bonavita. And it starts about 1 o'clock. And the Golden Bucks are everyone who have graduated 50 years or more from good old Dunmore High School.
And others are welcome too, though, right?
Well, anyone's welcome. Sure, yeah. The younger ones are welcome.
I find it hard to believe I have to consider myself a young one, but that's why I love the event.
Yeah, right.
I love seeing you. I mean, these are legends, really legendary. The people that I grew up admiring and idolizing when I was, in grade school and small.
Oh yes. And what we do is, I think one of the reasons we have it is because, after the 50th reunion, most classes have difficulty getting another one together, primarily because of numbers. But anyway, we thought this would be a way to do one after the 50th reunion, and they sit together at their own tables, and they're able to reminisce just like they were running their own individual reunion.
Yeah.
And we have a nice program. It's a buffet lunch with a cash bar, and we also have we have door prizes. We raffle off door prizes. I have about 10 door prizes, which are there are about 5 or 6 Dunmore restaurant gift cards. I have a foursome at Elmhurst Country Club that's available to win. We have a year of free coffee at the Fidelity Bank, compliments of attorney Nick Kelly.
Neat.
And then we'll have some Dunmore paraphernalia, football and maybe baseball paraphernalia that'll be available to win.
All right, so
As part of the
Joe
raffle.
Morelli, this is
And the proceeds.
Go ahead.
And the proceeds of that go to the Dunmore Educational Community Fund that's headed up by Derek Fragioni.
Neat stuff.
That's mostly for programs and projects, including the football team, the baseball team at Dunmore High School.
Hey, Joe Morelli, it's Friday the 20, what date?
Friday the 26th.
Okay, before the Dunmore game,
At
1 o'clock in the
PM,
afternoon.
At 1 p.m.
Buena Vita.
Yes.
How do they sign up or get in touch?
Okay.
I know you could go at the door,
it's $40. It's $40 per person, and you can send a check or stop into Attorney Nick Kelly's office at 310 East Drinker Street, Dunmore, 18512. You can either mail it to him or just drop it off, and it's $40 per person.
Good stuff. All right, well, just make sure you keep in touch on this. We'll talk about it again for sure, Joe Morelli. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Bob.
The Dunmore High School.
Hope to see you there.
The Dunmore High School Golden Reunion. Oh, I'll be off duty, so I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Okay.
I want to see all the old Bucks.
Golden Bucks reunion.
I love it. Love it. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. Murph tells us the Beatles, this date 1965, received a gold record for their single Help and the Japanese surrender. That was General MacArthur. After at 10:05, we're going to come back. We got Rick Bigelow on today to talk about all of that on the anniversary date. Newsflash. Due to the massive Medicaid cuts that never happened, millions of Americans are dead. Millions. And the newspaper that told you all about the Medicaid cuts, instead of having a picture from the Festa Italiana, which brought over 100,000 people to Lackawanna County in downtown Scranton, they've got a picture of an old roller coaster in Blair County near Pittsburgh. They're the news. Why would they lie to you about Medicaid cuts? All right. That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. What planet are they on? Just could you send someone over with their iPhone, go up to the top of the parking garage and take a picture of this amazing event? No. It's more important. And by the way, all three newspapers, thrills in limbo. All three of the rags have in the front page a roller coaster no one cares about in Blair County. It's so insane. The newspaper is so awful, you can't make it up. Well, they're up for a mayor who's so awful. It's all a piece. By the way, and see, there's the thing. If you're a leftist, as our mayor is in Scranton, if you're a true leftist, that's the only thing you have to be. You got to be a left-wing lunatic and doing something, accomplishing something. You don't have to. It's unbelievable. Somebody texted, it's astounding me that a large portion of the population in Scranton will vote for a woman with no accomplishments for mayor, even as she asked them for their vote to serve them while running for another office. Oh, they continue, and we'll throw them under the bus faster than Joe Biden will eat an ice cream cone. Absolutely zero self-awareness. That is the indicia of the left. It's insane. Hey, so I was mentioning that we were sitting outside the Basiligas, the Palucci's, and brother Ron and his wife Joy. Well, a friend, so many friends coming by, got to say hello, everything. Well, not only that, by the way, a former mayor of Scranton, Mayor Evans, was there. And it's like, here's a real mayor. Here's a mayor. Anyway, Father Cyril Edwards stopped by and visited. Oh, I can't get enough of him. He's just a great priest. He's up at, I don't know what they call it now. But it's Holy Rosary Church, which is the biggest church in the diocese, I believe. And he's the pastor up there. And he was the guy, the priest, who I've known him forever. He's just a great guy, loves sports, regular guy, 41st anniversary of the priest. But he was the guy who, when my sister-in-law Joy was converting to Catholicism, he was the priest. So we congratulate him on 41 years, 41 great years, and hopefully many more because he's a priest's priest. He really is good. He's good. Anyway, we got to take a break because it is basically time for the news. Because I look at my Bacardo Jewelers watch, and they've got Breitling, they've got Oris, they've got Longines, they've got Michelle, they've got Shinola, they've got Luminox, they got Swiss Army, they got Seiko, and of course, my beautiful Bacardo's watch itself. So it's time for the news with Brian Hughes. Let's do that. We'll come back. We got Rick Bigelow on the Japanese surrender and the anniversary thereof. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. And Bull, do we have the pictures on our live stream or no? Yes? We have them? Okay. Great good morning, everyone. 10:07 a.m. here in the great Northeast. This beautiful Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. It's 10:07. Well, let's make it 10:08 on my Bacardo's Jewelers watch. And that means it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great family of companies, to honor the brave who've made us and kept us free. People like veterans we lost this year, but get to celebrate today. Like Harold Witoshinsky, Scranton, Gary Myers, Kingston, Harry Swithers, late of Arizona, he was from Alden. Alfred Michalek, Hazel Township, and Michael Smith, North Carolina, formerly of Clifton Heights, New Jersey. So, with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle, gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our commitment to good sense and common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you in a world where an unaccomplished mayor announces for her next office while she's still running for the first office. Wow. Staggering arrogance. Staggering arrogance. Oh, by the way, lest I forget, the Bulldog was at our how could I even forget? I'm looking right at him. The Bulldog sat with. He's become part of the tradition. And I think he was a little upset there were no fireworks. But Bulldog, did you have a good time on Sunday night, Sunday evening? You feel like you're part of the tradition, I hope? All right. And everybody's going, he is a Bulldog. That's what people say when they meet him. He is a Bulldog. Well, he was there. Hey, Mother Teresa for September 2nd. She says, if you want to become holy, become poor. Jesus became poor to save us. And if we really want to become poor like Jesus, then we have to be really poor, spiritually poor. Mother Teresa for September 2nd. Well, I'm poor, but I'm not sure what it's done for my spirit. Bulldog, let's play that history again because we're going to lead into Rick Bigelow. Oh, Bulldog wasn't ready with Rick Bigelow's theme song. There we go. There we go. Well, he's one of the premier patent attorneys in the country, but that's not all he does. He's a veteran. He's an historian. He's our historian, and he is with us again on this anniversary of the formal Japanese surrender on the USS Missouri. He is Rick Bigelow. Rick, welcome back to the Bob Cordaro Show. How are you, man?
What? I'm fine. Glad to be with you, Bob.
Hey, good stuff. What a big day. People don't recognize anymore, at least many don't, the magnitude of this surrender.
Yeah, it was one of the most important days of the 20th century for the United States, and actually for the world, because World War II had just been a cataclysm. I mean, they're looking at it now, and they think that, at least 70 million people died, and of course, millions were displaced, and borders were redrawn. Communism took hold in China. It was quite the event, without a doubt.
Oh, man. Take us through it.
Okay, well, we talked in previous weeks about the atomic bombs on the 6th and 8th of August, and then Hirohito with his surrender speech on the 15th, and that set in the wheels of in the motion of how they were actually going to surrender and what was going to happen. And the amazing thing is, almost overnight, the Allies in the Pacific transitioned from finalizing plans for what was going to be a horrendous invasion of the Japanese home islands to quickly developing plans for the surrender and occupation of Japan and other nations of the Japanese Empire. And, the Japanese still had 3.5 million soldiers in Japan, and they had another 6 million or so in China and Burma and the Philippines and the Dutch East Indies and everything like that. So everybody had to work out surrender plans and processes in all those different places. It wasn't just in the Japanese home islands that they were going to surrender. So it was also very important for the Allies to get the surrender done as quickly as possible and liberate the POWs, because we knew that Japanese commanders had commanded generals who were in charge of the prison camps to kill all Allied POWs as soon as there was an invasion of the Japanese home islands. And I think with the I guess what you'd call the ignominy of surrender, a lot of the Japanese soldiers and generals wouldn't have taken that too well. So we wanted to liberate the POWs as quickly as we could. Just some interesting statistics. In Germany, in the POW camps, about 2% of U.S. POWs died, and of course, many of them had been injured already in the war. So 2% had died. In the Japanese prison camps, about 40% of all U.S. POWs had died. And only about 31,000 U.S. and British Commonwealth troops were repatriated and freed from those prison camps after the war. And some 900,000 Korean slave laborers were returned to Korea. So not only were there a lot of POWs who were working hard for the Japanese Empire, there were almost 1 million Korean slave laborers. One of the things that became very important after the Soviets invaded China and Korea and Manchuria was the Japanese soldiers knew they wanted to surrender to the Americans and to the British and not to the Soviets. So at least 1.6 million Japanese soldiers surrendered to the Soviets, and only about 1 million of them were ever repatriated. So as far as getting to the point of what happened in the surrender ceremony in Tokyo Bay, on August 19th of 1945, a group of Japanese generals flew to Manila to meet with MacArthur's staff to discuss the mechanics of the surrender process. And once again, it wasn't only the surrender in the Japanese home islands, but it was in all the other territories that the Japanese had occupied. one of the interesting things was MacArthur himself would not meet with any of these uh, Japanese generals. He was already setting up for himself to be looked upon as superior to everybody, even to the Emperor of Japan. And I mean, he was perfect for this job
Yeah.
because he was kind of an imperious type of guy.
His arrogance and his showmanship, both of them came together to actually be the perfect combination, didn't they?
Absolutely. In fact, I mean, it's interesting that Nimitz really wanted to be the supreme commander in Japan after the surrender, but Truman said, nope, MacArthur's the guy for that because he's used to commanding ground forces and all that sort of stuff. So I think it was a really good choice on Truman's part. So on August 28th, U.S. troops begin landing in Japan, and there's a picture of Marines landing in Tokyo Bay. I think it was around the Atsugi Air Base in Tokyo Bay. It was a much different assault and landing than they envisioned about a month earlier. So August 28th, we start bringing troops in. By the end of 1945, we had over 400,000 troops in Japan, and they began the disarming process. One of the things they wanted to do was make sure when the surrender ceremony happened that there wouldn't be a bunch of rogues who would attack the surrender process or attack the imperial palace or anything like that. So one of the first things they did was they removed all the propellers from all the Japanese military aircraft, and there were about 5,000 Japanese Zeros and bombers that were slated to become kamikazes if the Allied invasion actually took place. They also had 5,000 what they call Shinyo suicide motorboats that were ready to attack the Allied fleet if we actually invaded. A whole bunch of U.S. naval personnel went to all the Japanese warships and ensured that their weapons were neutralized by taking ammunition and also disabling the naval guns and so on and so forth. We also went through a process of neutralizing all the Japanese army weapons. And one of the interesting things that happened was a lot of the Japanese generals who were in the home islands started to stockpile in secret places ammunition and weapons and so on and so forth. They were sort of planning an insurrection after the surrender, but we were successful in finding all these caches of weapons and neutralizing them. And one of the things that they were really interested in was location and destruction of Japanese chemical and bioweapons, which they did.
Amazing.
So,
hey,
on
Rick
August
Bigelow,
30th,
we're going to take a break, and we'll come back with August 30th with MacArthur. Rick Bigelow's our guest. The formal surrender of Japan is our subject. We will be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. The Supremes, Murph tells us they moved from number 8 to number 3 with their hit Reflections. This date, 1967. Well, Rick Bigelow's with us, and we're talking about the formal surrender of the Japanese. We left off at August 30th when MacArthur flew from Okinawa to its Atsugi Air Base and announced his 11 priorities for Japan. What do you say there, Rick?
Well, I'll briefly go over them. Here's what he said he was going to do. And basically, he announced this to his staff on the flight from Okinawa to Atsugi. He said he was going to destroy the Japanese military, build the structure of a representative government, enfranchise women, free political prisoners, liberate the farmers, establish a free labor movement, and also abolish police oppression, which was embodied in the Kempeitai, which had been the secret police, which had basically terrorized most of the Japanese citizens for many years. So MacArthur was smart. He was a voracious reader of history, and he knew that lengthy occupations don't end well. So he wanted to implement all these reforms very quickly and then turn Japan back to a reformed, westernized Japanese people. And he was looking at doing this in 5 to 6 years. And so he proceeded with all haste once he took over. So he also, on the flight over, he also announced to his staff that they would not be carrying arms when they landed in Japan. And they all thought he was crazy.
Yeah, that's a little, that's not little, that's a lot risky, man.
It was quite the leap of faith. But he said he wanted to show the Japanese people that he was coming not as a conqueror, but as a kind of a mentor to show them how to become a westernized nation. And he didn't want to appear to be very threatening. And he knew that since the emperor had commanded that there would be a surrender, that 99.9% of the Japanese people would go along with it, and they would respect what the emperor said. And, you know, like we said before, he was just perfect for this job. He was somewhat between a viceroy of Japan and the new shogun. And so in a lot of ways, when the Japanese people saw him get off the plane, and there's a picture of this, he gets off his plane that was named the Bataan in honor of the Bataan Death March. He gets off and he just stands at the top of the stairway, and he just looks around as if he was the emperor overlooking his new empire. And of course, he had his wrinkled hat and his corncob pipe on, and so on and so forth. So it was pure theater, but it worked very well. So he gets to the Atsugi Air Base, and he's taken to the Grand Hotel in Yokohama, and this was on the 30th of August. And the car he was driven in was powered by charcoal. There was so little gasoline or diesel fuel in Japan at the time that private cars were powered by charcoal. So on the way to the hotel, Japanese soldiers were positioned every few yards to provide security. So as the car carrying MacArthur passed, each one of them turned their backs on the vehicle. And initially, members of MacArthur's staff were just outraged at that because they thought it showed disrespect. But a Japanese official who was with them said, this is the same kind of respect that they show the emperor when the emperor's car drives along, because no one was supposed to look at the emperor, and they were showing MacArthur the same degree of respect. And I guess one of the things you think about is, if it had been Nimitz or Halsey or somebody like that, would they have had the same sort of respect for him? I don't know, but once again, MacArthur was just perfect for this role. So the next morning at breakfast, MacArthur orders an egg. It took the Japanese hotel staff an hour to find an egg. There was so little fresh fruit and vegetables in eggs or poultry or whatever in Japan at the time that it was indicative of the fact that the Japanese people were slowly starving. In fact, the food was so scarce, in Japan that members of his staff took every opportunity to go out to the Navy ships for meetings so that they could get a couple decent meals out of the deal. So we get to the actual surrender ceremony on September 2nd. The identity of which Japanese officials would sign the surrender document was kept secret. On the morning the surrender was to take place, a heavily guarded convoy left Japanese government offices, proceeded to a pier where a U.S. destroyer took them out to the USS Missouri, which was anchored way out in Tokyo Bay. The ceremony took place on the Missouri, along with about 300 other Allied ships that were in the bay. Japanese Foreign Minister Shigemitsu, representing the civilian government, and Army Chief of Staff Umetsu signed the surrender document on behalf of the Japanese Army and Navy. Shigemitsu was a opponent of the war from way back when, and periodically he was removed from power, and then they had to bring him back because he had a certain degree of prominence in the Japanese government and among foreign nations. So following the surrender, Shigemitsu was arrested, imprisoned, and convicted as a war criminal, even though he opposed the war. He served 5 years, which was the lightest sentence of any convicted war criminal. He was active in the new Japanese government until his death in 1957. Following the surrender, General Umetsu was arrested, tried and convicted, and sentenced to life in prison. He died in prison in 1949. His family became converts to Catholicism, and he was given last rites by a Catholic priest, and his daughter actually became a Catholic nun. Conspicuous in their absence was Emperor Hirohito and any member of his extended family. So MacArthur was in overall charge of the ceremony. He signed on behalf of the Allied nations. Nimitz signed on behalf of the U.S. Representatives from the other nations, the UK, Canada, China, France, Netherlands, Australia, New Zealand also signed. In addition, a representative of the Soviet Union signed, even though they had only been in the war for a couple days at that point in time. Also conspicuous in his absence was Admiral Ray Spruance, who was stationed off Okinawa with the mighty Fifth Fleet in case the Japanese tried to sabotage the proceedings. The Canadian representative signed the surrender document in the wrong place, setting off a cascading effect of signatures in the wrong place. In fact, we've got a picture of the actual surrender document is signed, and you can see that several places they had a line out who signed it and initial it and so on and so forth. So just a little obscure theater added into it there. And then there's a picture of the quarterdeck of the Missouri as it is today out in Pearl Harbor. So after the ceremony was over, MacArthur turned to Halsey and said, "Start them up, Bill." And 1,500 Army, Navy, and Marine Corps planes flew over the ceremony. There were so many planes that it just went on for about 10 minutes. And in the aftermath of that impressive show with all the ships and all the planes, in his debrief, one Japanese admiral said, "We must have been crazy to think we could have beaten the Americans."
Which was exactly what MacArthur wanted them to think.
Exactly. And I mean, when you fast forward to today, and there's no reason that Trump, when Putin met him in Alaska, he had a big flyover, and he had Putin walk right between all the B-2 bombers and so on and so forth. So
it's a famous picture on the deck of the USS Missouri. That's a funny aside that they started signing in the wrong place. Oh my gosh!
Yep.
That is true history. True history. Rick
Absolutely.
Bigelow. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure. I look forward to the next history lesson we get from you. They're always important. Always important.
Glad to do it, Bob.
All right. Rick Bigelow, patent attorney extraordinaire, but he's also our historian. We'll take a break. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. We'll be back. If you go outside the Bloomsburg Legion, you have a number of monuments, including one carved in stone asking, "What is a veteran?" And this involves and describes all of them, peacetime, wartime. It says a veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America and its people for an amount of up to and including his or her life. Gary Myers, he was from Kingston, passed away at home on August 22nd. His infectious happiness, generous spirit, he had a remarkable ability to uplift those around him, always finding a silver lining in every situation. His optimism was contagious. Gary was a proud graduate of Kingston High School and Wilkes University and had a distinguished career in the banking industry. His contributions there were significant, and he left a lasting impact on those who had the privilege of working with him. Gary proudly served us in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. His dedication and bravery were recognized with numerous medals, including the prestigious Bronze Star. He's survived by his beloved wife and caregiver, Mary, who he often described as the love of his life. He's survived by his son, daughter, and grandchildren as well. Gary Myers. Harold Widoshinsky. He passed away August 12th, 2025, at the age of 87. A devoted husband, father, proud Marine, master mason. He was a scuba diver as well. Born in Scranton, and from a young age, he exemplified strength of character, a strong moral compass, and an unshakable sense of duty. He proudly served this country as a corporal in the U.S. Marine Corps. In the 50s, he held his country and the Marine Corps with deep pride and unwavering loyalty. His commitment to justice continued, though, and led to a long and distinguished career as a criminal investigator with the Pennsylvania State Police, 1967 to 1991. In addition to his professional accomplishments, Harold was a proud master mason. He leaves behind his most dedicated wife of 64 years, Mary Ann, 3 daughters, and grandchildren, as well as other family members. Harold Widoshinsky. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and his incredible family of companies, from Basiliga Hospitality to Eastern Roofing Systems to Serenity Care to J. Bass Commercial and Residential Realty. Our great veterans tribute this hour. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, sunny with a chance of an isolated shower. It'll be about 78 degrees. Tonight, clear skies, low 56. Wednesday, mix of sun and clouds with chance of a stray shower, 78 degrees. Thursday, morning sun, then cloudy with showers and thunderstorms. Late in the day, it'll be about 78 degrees. The Doors. Murph tells us they had the number 4 hit with Light My Fire. This date, 1967. Hey, speaking of music and speaking of Murph, he's going to be performing Sunday at the Bucktown Music Festival. I'm going to have him call in later this week to tell us about that great event up in the Dunmore Corners on Sunday. And guess what? Something else neat. Our gal, Rebecca Martino, she's back. Stately Pet Supply, Clark Summit, and here she is. How are you, Rebecca?
Bob, I'm doing great. Thanks very much. I was grooving out to the Doors because there's that little bit of a delay when I'm on hold.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I hear Bob's voice. Great song. Murph does a great job.
He really does. I let the music play longer than most talk show hosts because I'm like, you don't want to cut people off, boom, when it's a good song. You don't want to cut them off. So
no, and right when everyone's getting into the groove of it, where everyone's like, oh, wait, this is the best part. Hold on, this is the best part. And then they turn it up. So you let it play. And you did that with Sister Golden Hair a couple months ago when I listened to you. And you talked about how you liked coming home from school and practicing when the drums first come in. Yeah. No, it's awesome. It's a great feature to your show. So I was sitting around trying to think about some marketing that I'd like to do. And it brings me back to all the things that I talk about that can, be some neat little tips and tricks for dog owners. But I should come back to the reason I got into this business in the first place. And that is I had a sick dog. We had a sick dog. My husband and I had full-time jobs. I was a nurse at Geisinger-Roming Valley. Andy was he worked in satellite communications at Tobyhanna Army Depot. He was traveling all around the world. We had great jobs, and we quit. We just up and quit because our dog was sick, and after a single food switch, she got better. And we realized there's not really any guidance in the area. Once you leave your veterinarian's office, you're on your own to navigate the products after you received your diagnosis, So just to sum it up, we're not veterinarians. I'm not a nutritionist. But when you're trying to find something in the market, there is an enormous amount of smoke and mirrors. You're not getting what you think you're getting. And that's one of the things that we found difficult to navigate. We thought we were nailing it, but our dog wasn't getting better. So getting back to the marketing, when I say I was going over my marketing, one of my most successful diner placemat ads was very simple. The top line said, "Itchy dog?" ? And I'm sure somebody listening is going, yeah, my dog is always itchy. And what you may be looking at is probably been called a food allergy, but it's probably not. What you probably have is technically a food sensitivity. And food sensitivities are things that can be defined as, or you'll see symptoms, a very hamster wheel style of symptoms. Inflamed skin, hair loss. They're chewing all their paws, not just the front two, chronic ear issues, belly trouble, and steroids and antibiotics fix it for a little bit. But then after that, you're right back at the vet with the same symptoms.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it brief, but I would like to touch on this next week because I know there's a little time issue, but just a little teaser. I'd like to talk about itchy dogs next week, and it's not as difficult as you think to fix this little hamster wheel that you might be on. Absolutely a food switch and a few supplements and a discussion can usually nail it down within a few months. And what you're looking to heal is the gut. And I'll leave it there. That's our little teaser for next week, and I'll give you some more information then.
Excellent. Well, Rebecca, always a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to next week because everybody's got a dog that has those issues sooner or later. So,
I think so.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Bob, thanks very much. Enjoy your week.
All right, you too. Rebecca Martino, Stately Pet Supply in Clark Summit. We'll take a break. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. We will return. Murph tells us this date, 1972. Gilbert O'Sullivan, he moved back up to number 1 with his hit Alone Again Naturally. And I really have zero melancholy, really, most of my whole life. But I love that song. It's a sad whatever. Yeah, I do love the song. Anyway, hey, a bunch of you have texted in because Brian Hughes was doing the news talking about a Big Mac meal, which can be charged up to $18. And I said, Brian, get in here to talk about this. Is it $18 for a Big Mac meal?
Well, there was one McDonald's apparently in Connecticut that was charging $18, unless they were bringing their French fries in directly from France to add to it. It seems a bit out of hand.
But what you saw was $8, right? Is that the standard?
$8 is now what they're lowering the prices of the value meals. So $8 is a value meal, and then I think a few other fast food places are doing that as well.
When we were kids, it was a big deal to go to Burger King. And me and my brothers, we ate like animals. And I remember we had a bill that was over $10 at Burger King. And it was like the people who owned the Burger King and were working were shocked at that size of a bill to feed 5 people.
Really? Well, the burgers were like 29 cents at one time.
Yeah.
I can remember those days.
Oh, well, you reassured me. I didn't want to disrupt your news gathering, but I just thought this needed to be addressed. Yeah.
Well, just get back to that Gilbert Sullivan song. He had another song which is a lot more up tempo. Get back, get down. I think you're a bad dog, baby, and that was much more up. So I mean, you got both the highs and lows with.
But
that
I love this song. I love the Alone Again Naturally. I really do. All right. Well, thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
If I say this, I said when I was in prison, I couldn't wait to be alone.
Understandable.
I can't wait to be alone. Oh, lordy. Hey, just a couple of texts to get to, but thanks to Brian for coming in. So this is what is meant by the radiation symbol on signs for data centers? Does that mean their power source is small nuclear generator? No, I think that the computers and the systems generate radiation. I mean, not any dangerous levels unless you're continually bombarded with it. But I think that's what it is. I may even check that out. By the way, Tom from Dallas telling us there's a movie called Emperor, and it depicts a lot of what we talked about today with Rick Bigelow with General Douglas MacArthur, and I'll have to check that out. I really will. Cinderblock checking in. He says, I have to treat the morning show like radioactive or toxic waste. The less time I'm exposed to it, the better. I forget where it finishes, but yeah. They're still with this, Mayor Many Names is a great candidate. Why? Please tell me why. Because she's a left-wing lunatic or because she's an awful mayor? Which do you want? It's crazy. It's crazy. We got a left-wing lunatic morning show. What are you going to do? We love them. We love them dearly. But you're not going to get much political truth there. It's just what is. You're going to get left-wing talking points. That's what you'll get. And what do we tell you? The entire left wing of the Democrat Party, which owns the current Democrat Party, bases everything on lies. Medicaid cuts. It's insanity. And they just keep doing it. By the way, Tenor Jim tells me that he's adjusted the lyrics of the hit song Country Roads by John Denver, and his quartet does it. And here's the first stanza, a good way to finish the hour. Almost heaven, Pennsylvania, endless mountains, Lackawanna River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing in the breeze. Pothole roads take me home to the place I belong. Pennsylvania, mountain mama, Take me home, pothole rose. LTS back at you, tenor Jim. It really does apply to Scranton. It really, sadly, it does. And now the mayor who can't fix a pothole wants to be your congressperson simultaneous with her run for re-election as mayor. You could not make this up. You literally couldn't. But it's sadly true. Hey, when I look up, I see my Bacardo jeweler's watch. And it's not a Breitling, it's not an Oris, it's not a Longines, it's not a Michelle, it's not a Shinola, it's not a Luminox, it's not a Swiss Army, and it's not a Seiko. It's a Bacardo jeweler's watch, and it tells me it's 11:02. You know what that means? Brian Hughes has got to do the news again. We'll do that. We'll come back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. My Ricardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 11:10 and change here in the great Northeast. This beautiful Tuesday, September 2nd, the 80th anniversary of the formal victory over Japan. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man John Basiliga and the great Basiliga companies, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we salute today, thanks to John. We lost them this year, but we get the chance to celebrate their memories. Harold Witoshinsky, Scranton, Gary Myers, Kingston, Harry Swithers, late of Arizona, but he was from Alden, Alfred Mahalik, Hazel Township, and Michael Smith, late of North Carolina, but he was from Clifton Heights, New Jersey. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, letting you know that because of our commitment to common sense, you have found a sanctuary of sanity where the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago are so insane, and the Democrat Party writ large has gone so Looney Tunes that they're refusing to save their own people. Hey, we don't want any help out here in Chicago when, what was it, 46 people shot over the weekend? I mean, it's insanity. Wow. Hey, speaking of the Japanese surrender, one of our great listeners pointing out the Missouri is in Hawaii as a tourist attraction, meaning the very USS Missouri upon whose deck the agreement was signed. And they're letting me know not too far from Hickam Air Base, pointing out there's military air traffic 24/7 in Hawaii. Somebody texted in, Bob LTS, on a different but very important subject, which I just happened to bring up. Over 50 people shot and 7 killed in Chicago. The mayor today brings up slavery and resistance to Trump invading their city. These people are disgusting human beings. And who's getting shot, stupid Brandon Johnson, you scumbag? You want to bring up slavery? Well, you've enslaved the people of Chicago to your left-wing lunacy. Do you see why we can't have Paige Cognetti be the mayor anymore? We cannot have this insanity in charge. We cannot. Somebody texts in, hey, buddy, just checking in with you listening on the Odyssey app, complimenting the show. He says, I'm here in downtown Baghdad. Oh, wait a minute. No, this is Scranton. Paige Cognetti, how about you accomplish something before you run for a better office? And again, she is. Just picture Joe Biden falling up the steps of Air Force One. This is what she wants to do. Unbelievable. The arrogance of the announcement is off the charts. Off the charts. And now we have, I wanted you to think about this. Don't tell me that the disease has not affected local Democrats. And certainly not all of them, but some of them. We have a board of elections that included a Lackawanna County judge who voted with Billy Gaughan to try to keep him in power. It's astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. They break the law to keep people in power. And Gaughan's done a horrible job as commissioner. He did such a bad job. McGloin said, enough, I'm getting out of this. This is nuts. All right, well, it's Monday. Well, it's Tuesday, I should say. So it's time for Monday Musings, which is Monday Musings on a Tuesday. It's John Perillo. That's his theme song. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Bob. How are you?
Oh, I'm in a lather.
At least that's unusual, right?
56 people shot in Chicago, but they don't need any help. Wow.
Well, thank you for having Rick on, by the way, this morning. I really enjoyed his piece, and I always do.
Great.
So,
he's great.
And I did want to look at something a little bit different this week, and in the aftermath of the attacks in Minneapolis, Bob and I didn't think we could let that go without some comment. And I know that this particular piece I'm going to do isn't a comfort to anyone who's lost a spouse or a child. And I'm also well aware that sometimes grief drives people away from belief. And in a way, I don't find that unreasonable. I get it. But I'd like to discuss briefly what's called the problem of evil as it relates to the existence of God. And most of the other arguments against the existence of God seem to be more easily refuted. But the problem of evil is something that I think many truly feel is a heartfelt barrier to their belief, and it was to mine as well. And because when you see horrible things, your reaction is to question the existence of God, or at least a God that is both all good and all powerful. So to begin with, if you're struggling with this, you're not alone. This is something that religious scholars have studied quite literally for centuries. And if you were to, try to explore this at one of the world's great universities, which many of which were, by the way, created originally to do just this kind of thing, you would spend years on this. So this will obviously be a very high-level look. And I'll take liberally from some of the things that Bishop Robert Barron and many others have said because they were helpful to me.
But hey, John Perillo, let me mention this. If you studied at one of our, and I put this in air quotes, great universities, you might need another 4 years to untrain yourself.
Well, in the old days, originally, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can think of this out there as a piece, as an attempt to plant some thoughts for when this show is over and you have some quiet time to reflect. And no less than Christ himself addresses the problem of evil in a story. A parable is the biblical word for it, of a landowner who owns and has a field, and he plants a field of wheat. And it's God who is the landowner, and he plants the best seeds. And the story goes on to say that while the people who are tending the field were asleep, which means that while the people who are tending the field, that's us, weren't paying attention, an enemy puts out weed seeds in the same field. And what that tells us is that even in the best work of God himself, we can expect to find some weeds. An enemy has been at work, the parable tells us. And the more the thing is good, the wheat in the story, or children attending a mass in the case of Minneapolis, the more that it's spiritual, the more it has to be attacked. And the weeds and the wheat in this story that Christ tells us, they grow up together. There isn't a border of weeds. There's not a separate field of weeds across the street. They're right there growing with the wheat, just like the evil that we see in our world. And it's us who are tending the field. And as servants to God in his land, it's up to us to take care of the harvest. And the story goes on to say that those who tend the field, that's us, ask if they should go out right now and pull the weeds. So just like all of you are asking God right now, if you've paid attention to that story in Minneapolis, why can't we just go pull up the weeds? But in the story, the landowner, God himself says, no, don't pull up the weeds. And you need to think about that. God himself says that we are to let the weeds grow up in the field of wheat, because if we pull up the weed, we might pull up some of the wheat as well. And the loss of one blade of wheat is too precious to risk. Right? We might destroy some good in our pursuit of evil. We are told to wait until harvest for that separation to happen. And it will happen, but it will happen on the master's timeline, not ours. And that takes both patience and humility, which I certainly find very difficult, which begs the question, what's the good that might be pulled up if we just went up and pulled out the weeds? And St. Augustine said that God is so powerful that he can permit evil so as to bring about a greater good. And I want to say immediately that I know that this is of little comfort to those people in Minneapolis and elsewhere who have to look at an empty seat at their dinner table. But I do think that with some effort, we can certainly begin to understand what Augustine was saying, right? Bob had a theater troupe in there a while back that was composed entirely of young people with learning disabilities. And I'm certain I wasn't the only one to listen to the adult coordinators of that group and think of just how wonderful they were as human beings and how joyous these young actors were, regardless of whatever human measurement we might have for their abilities. Right? And all the wonderful veterans that Bob celebrates wouldn't exist if not for the absolute horror of war. And the Hebrews and the American Indians and the Catholics have in common a belief that certain truths about the Creator can be observed in nature, which is his creation, and they call that nature's law. And as Bob has told you, I live out here in ranch country, and we have some spectacular eagles out here, golden eagles with more than 6-foot wingspans, bald eagles, ground owls, you name it. But those majestic animals don't exist without the destruction of rabbits, mice, and other animals. And without the destruction of the rabbit, there is no eagle. Right? And human life shows the same phenomenon again and again everywhere you look. There's no Schindler's List without Nazi Germany. Those extraordinary Medal of Honor citations and all the people that were referenced in Rick's piece, right? Those examples of great heroism never happen without another family receiving the most dreaded visit from a military chaplain. Those spouses and children caring for family members that barely even know that they're there, all of that. And again, before I take another breath, I am completely aware that the fact that a hero exists doesn't take away from the other family's pain in the least. And if that family then wonders how God could possibly do that or how God could allow this to happen, I get it, right? And yet, we're told to let the weeds and the wheat grow together until the harvest. We shouldn't expect even the best of wheat, the most wonderful creations of God, of our individual lives, to be without some weeds. And maybe we have to be patient and leave that to the master's schedule, as difficult as that might be for me to understand, certainly, right? And I go back to forcing myself to think at least a little bit in an intellectual manner. And I can look at some of the stuff I've seen that really shook me up, and I tend to be emotional about that. And then I realized that what I saw was a tiniest fraction of a tiny story in a single place in the universe that took place in an infinitesimal amount of time. And that part of the story, that the story itself goes back for millennia and will go on for millennia. And I just happened to be standing next to that one sentence in an ongoing narrative when it happened. And then I wondered just how arrogant it is for me to think that, based on my view of that one tiny fragment, that I can extrapolate what the rest of this amazing epic looks like or means. So if God has an infinite mind and exists outside of time itself and has created and is standing over all of this, I have to compare that to me saying this single event, either in Minneapolis or elsewhere, doesn't make any sense. And it can't possibly have any meaning. And you parents out there have seen this, right? Your 3-year-old doesn't understand what you're trying to accomplish as a parent and objects loudly sometimes and generally in public, right? But they obviously don't get the larger picture. They can't understand that. Well, multiply that infinitely, and it becomes clear that what we see, what we object to, also loudly sometimes, what we find horrific, that for us to say, because I don't understand this has no meaning, is actually a form of arrogance. And when we pray, we aren't doing so to let God know what we need. He already knows that. And of course, we still should pray, regardless of what anybody says. Prayer is never to be dismissed as useless. At the very least, prayer is our acknowledgement of two absolutely critical things. The first, that there is a God, and the second is that it's not us, right? And again, I'm aware that nothing I say here will be a comfort to a parent in Minneapolis who has to look at that empty chair at their dinner table tonight. But maybe we can use this to understand that God himself is aware that there are weeds in his field, and that he sees the weeds too, and that he knows that we want to help with taking care of that field. He knows all of that, and that sometimes he's just asking us to wait. And again, to your listeners out there, I know we look at these tragedies, and I know how I feel and how emotional I get, and hopefully this is a little bit helpful to you as you try to think about those problems.
Amen. Well, thank you for that, John. A reflective Monday musings here on a Tuesday. We thank you. We hope you have a great week, and we look forward to next week.
Yes, and to you and your listeners as well. Thank you for having me on, and I hope you guys have a great week and enjoy the cooler weather out there.
All right. John Perillo, Monday musings on a Tuesday. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by John Basiliga and his great family of companies. And we add to the two commentaries regarding World War II and World War I combat veterans. A stone at the Bloomsburg Legion that says, "What is a veteran?" A veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, reserve, peacetime, wartime, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America and its people for an amount of up to and including his or her life. That is honor. Harry Swithers, resident of Flagstaff, Arizona, when he passed away on June 22nd this year. But he was from Alden. He passed away from complications related to Parkinson's disease at the age of 90. The Swithers family owned and operated Sanitary Ice Company in Alden. And as a young man, Harry worked in business and developed a strong work ethic there. He attended Newport High School, graduating in 1946. In January of 47, Harry and two friends, Foster Whitebread and George Check, hitchhiked to California to study aerospace engineering. Amazing people. In 1949, Harry joined the Air Force, became an aircraft maintenance staff sergeant. He served in the Philippines during the Korean War. In 1952, he married his Nanticoke sweetheart, Elizabeth Betty Norton, in Hollywood. They moved to rural Santa Monica Mountains, where they raised two girls. Harry was a mechanical engineer and valued employee and colleague at Hughes Aircraft in Culver City, California, for 25 years. Involved with the development of early space program projects and the radar systems for the F-14 and the SR-71, the B-2 Spirit, and more. He enjoyed carpentry. He wasn't just an engineer. His daughters were the apple of his eye, and his beautiful wife, still his sweetheart after 66 years of marriage. Harry will be deeply missed by his wife, Elizabeth, who sadly has now passed. His daughters, 6 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren. They say in the obit, "Harry, you fought the good fight, finished the race, and kept the faith." 2 Timothy 4:7. Will be buried in the Nanticoke Cemetery. Harry Swithers. Alfred Mahaldick. He was 89 when he passed August 27th. He was from Hazel Township, raised in Summit Hill. He'd been married for 59 years this past October 2nd. Graduate of last class at former St. Anne's High School in Lansford, where he was captain of the football team, as well as class salutatorian. He attended Penn State University, began his career as a stockbroker, and then became manager of Drake Bakeries, East Brunswick, New Jersey. He served us in the U.S. Army, stationed in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Member of St. Joseph Catholic Church in Shepton. He was a Knights of Columbus 4th degree. Surviving, along with his wife, his sons, and other family members. Alfred Mahalik. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. One of the premier commercial, institutional roofing companies in the entire eastern United States. And they bring that expertise to your home because they're based in Jessup, and they'll take care of business with you too. Eastern Roofing Systems, our sponsor. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, sunny with a chance of an isolated shower. It'll be 78 degrees. Tonight, clear skies down to 56. Wednesday, mix of sun and clouds. Chance of a stray shower. 78 degrees. Thursday, morning sun, then cloudy with showers and thunderstorms late in the day, high of 78. The Hollies. Murph says this date, 1972, they moved up to number 2 with their hit Long, Cool Woman in a black dress. Bob Cordaro with you on WILK. And Brother Mike, who's out there delivering for DePietro's Pharmacy. He said, Ann Cresswell's listening up in Dunmore. Shout out to you, Ann. Thank you for being with us. And, well, thank you for being with DePietros, too. Why not? Hey, the J-Man texting, Bob, Page is hoping for the Peter principle. Yep. Falling upwards. He says, you shouldn't say the mayor of Scranton hasn't done anything. I was up there for the Italian festival. I've never seen so many parking meters and signs. Yeah, exactly. When she doesn't run the parking in Scranton. It's a company that they just raised the rates for. But this is funny now, by the way. And I love Nancy and Jason. When I walked in here today, now I knew we were going to have Rick Bigelow on, but I didn't think it was National VJ Day. And they were talking about video disc jockeys. And they might have confused. Maybe there's a coincidence there. But our man Bob K points out they were announcing National VJ Day that they thought was video jockeys. Not the 80th anniversary of the victory over Japan. And Bob K says, OMG, oh my God, LTS. Well, we won't let them get away with that unless somehow there's Video Jockey Day, which I don't think it is. By the way, our man Peter Fitzwell in Kingston, he says Mayor Page must be insecure about jobs running for 2 elected offices at once. Look it. No matter how little self-awareness a left-wing lunatic would have about themselves, absent self-awareness, she knows she's not good at her job. She knows it. Why would you be running for Congress if you were a good mayor? You just wouldn't. And as Joe from Westside points out, he says, LTS every day. It was a beautiful morning to hike the Davis Trail at Naog. Driving by the pool complex on my way out, the whole area is absolutely destroyed. I don't know what their plans are, but obviously there'll be no swimming this year. Yep. And Joe says, and she wants to run for Congress? She destroyed this city. It's a disgrace. Man, oh, man. You got to remember, the left wing and today's Democrat Party, it's about what message you could convey. It's not about what you can do because they can't do anything. So her accomplishments are zero, except for increasing the parking rates in downtown Scranton. And by the way, you got to use a credit card, but now they're putting a credit card fee on top of the increase. This is where we're at. Hey, quickly, my man Brian Hughes points out to me, after 250 years of faithful service, the historic 109th Field Artillery of the Pennsylvania Army National Guard, one of the oldest military units in the nation, they retired their flag at the end of the day on Sunday. That happened the other day. On Labor Day, the 109th became the 28th DIVARTY, D-I-V-A-R-T-Y, short for Division Artillery. It'll continue to maintain its headquarters in Wilkes-Barre, commonly known as the Kingston Armory. Nanticoke's Armory will close and be sold, while Plymouth's Armory will be used by the new unit. The 109th traces its roots back to 1775, May, prior to the founding of the country, and was part of the Connecticut militia at that time. Isn't that amazing? Hey, one other note. My man, another one of our great listeners, Mark from Hazleton, he's pointing out there will be fireworks this weekend. All weekend long is the Hazleton Festa Italiana. And there will be fireworks. Bulldog, do you hear that now? There will be fireworks in Hazleton at their Festa. So that's good stuff. Thank you for reminding me, Mark. I told you to let me know what's happening so we could remind the people that Hazleton's got a big weekend coming up. Yeah, unbelievable. It's it's VJ Day. No, that's victory over Japan. Not the VJ, oh, well. Well, again, they don't have their facts right on the morning show anyway. Well, we've got to take a break on that note. Bob Cordaro, WILK, will return. That's my man, Gerard Mayer, and he's playing this Sunday at the Bucktown Music Festival. And he got in touch with me over the weekend and said, does Murph does he want to do a song with us? And so they've got Murph appearing at the Bucktown Music Festival with Gerard's band. It's going to be exciting. By the way, somebody texting in, you and the Bulldog will have to go to Hazleton and take Lorraine out to the festival this weekend. Just a thought, Fuzzy Wuzzy, says Sean from Larksville. That's a good one. Somebody else said, Bob, I heard Lorraine is going to be lighting the fireworks. She's Hazleton proud. She gets me there. She gets me to Hazleton. It's been a while, but she gets me there. I don't know if I'm making it. Look at Cutie does my schedule. She tells me where I'm going and when I'm going. It's just something. It's one less thing. Remember Forrest Gump used to say that? One less thing. It's one less thing I have to worry about is where I'm going socially. So she calls that shot. She just told me, I don't know. She had plans for this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. I'm on a need-to-know basis. Let's put it that way. All right, we got to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK, the eponymous program. It'll roll on after this. We'll be right back. Argent. Murph says they moved up to number 4 this date in 72 with their hit Hold Your Head Up. And we're going to finish today with Hootie and the Blowfish, because back in 95, they moved into the top 10 charts at number 10 with their hit Only Want to Be With You. Pretty good song, right? Bob Cordaro back on the eponymous program as we prepare to wrap things up. We'll try to get one more call in here. Let's go to John from Kingston. Hi, John.
Hey, I love your program. God bless you. It's great.
Thank you, man.
I want to quickly comment about you were talking before about the story of the wheat and the weeds.
Yes.
And I want to kind of add something to that. It's actually not a story. It's a parable. And if you read in the Psalms in the Old Testament, the prophecy of the Messiah is when the Messiah would come, he would speak parables that were in God's heart from before the world was created. And so when you read, and I think it's Matthew 13, verses 44, 45, 46, somewhere in there, that when Jesus opened his mouth and taught the parable that was referred to in Matthew 13, that he uttered secrets that were kept in God's heart from before the foundations of the world. Now, very quickly, because I know we're on limited time, it wasn't wheat and weeds. It was wheat and tares. Tares look, when they're planted and they grow, they look exactly like wheat. You cannot tell the difference until the time of the harvest. At the time of the harvest, the wheat bows and moves with the wind, and the tares stay straight up in the air, and they're full of poison. And that's at the time of the harvest that the poison separates.
And how's that spelled,
wheat.
John? How's that spelled? The tares? What? I don't know that word.
T-A-R-E-S.
Okay.
T-A-R-E-S. One of the problems is there's a big difference between a story and a parable. A parable is something that only Jesus could speak. And probably some of these newer Bibles are so watered down that they call parables stories. That's why I like to go with the old reliable Bible.
Amazing. All right, thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Just an addition. So
we love to learn.
The Lord Jesus Christ, we lift him up in a special way because he doesn't tell stories. He gives us parables full of wisdom from God's heart from before the world began. God bless you, Bob.
Amen, John. He has. Thank you so much. Hey, Andrew from Jersey here. He tells us National VJ Day, tell the morning show, if we did not have a victory over Japan, they would be doing their show in German or Japanese. Oh. Somebody says, remember, it's The Rock. He says, Mayor Page wants to be governor. She wants that since the first time she ran for school director. Well, she was appointed, actually. And then she left. She left the school board because she was going to have some tough votes. And when the spit hit the fan, she was gone. Oh, Lord. Political opportunism. How awful. Hey, our veterans today. You want to make a final mention of them thanks to our guy, John Basiliga. Harold Widoshinsky. Harold was from Scranton originally. Gary Myers, Kingston. Alfred Mahalik, Hazel Township. Harry Swithers, late of Arizona, but he was from Alden. And Michael Smith, late of North Carolina, but Clifton Heights, New Jersey. Our great veterans today. Well, it's good to be back with you guys. These long weekends are great, but I miss you. I'm happy to be back with you. Shortened week, but a big week as we begin September. Good stuff every day. We'll promise you. Well, that's it for me. My Bacardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 11:59 and 32 seconds, which means time to go. Time to gavel to a close this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. The Sue Henry Show next, straight off of her command performance with Sabatels on Courthouse Square in Scranton. She's back. She's ready. Have a great afternoon, great weekend. Oh, my man Rob O'Donnell. Saw him, and he had the whole gang in. He had the Marines. He had the Air Force or the Navy pilot. The whole gang at the baseball game Sunday. How did I forget that? He'll be on this afternoon. Have a good one, guys. We are adjourned here on the Club for Common Sense.